Hey everybody, I'm Chris. I'm the CEO at NS1, the DNS and traffic management company. We're based right here in New York. Just going to take a few minutes this morning to talk about everybody's favorite topic, incident response. Pretty commonly in our community, we're talking about organizational models or technology for managing incidents. At NS1, we use an incident command model, and if that's not a familiar idea to everybody, I'm not going to talk about it today, but I'd strongly suggest Googling incident command and watching, in particular, some of the talks by Fastly on this topic. They're really great talks. We, of course, use the usual array of like monitoring and alerting and logging and mitigation, other tools anytime we have an incident. That's not what I want to talk about either. Instead, I want to talk just for a couple minutes about practices we've found at NS1 to make sure that when we are responding to an active incident, we're making use of our organizational design and our processes and our tools as effectively as possible. So here's an example of one of my very favorite tools for effective incident response. This is a checklist. And as an aside, the tweeter here, Calm, he's at AWS. He's led engineering on CloudFront and on Route 53 and a lot of other projects. This is a checklist he made to help his operators at AWS be better at incident response. And I'm not so focused on the content here yet, more on the form, right? This is a checklist. It's simple, focused, concise, easy to understand. It's only got the most important or salient points. It's not over-prescriptive. It's meant to be used by someone experienced with the system that they're operating. Checklists are a great tool for incident response because they give you cues, they give the operator cues that remind them of experience they already have or training they've been through, help the operator avoid forgetting key steps or details in some kind of an active incident scenario. Now, just as an aside, to focus on the content for a second, this point here, focus on mitigation and not root cause, is a great point in any kind of incident response scenario. Pretty commonly as engineers, right, when we're mitigating an active situation, we can get sidetracked by diagnosis and wanting to really understand like what's happened, why is it happening, what was the root cause. Sometimes that's the wrong thing to do. When there's service impact, we should focus on that service impact and worry about root cause analysis and diagnosis later on. This idea shows up in all kinds of checklists. This is one of my favorite checklists. This is the Cessna 172S emergency procedures checklist for engine failure during flight. So you're flying your Cessna along, the engine stops. And a really common problem in this scenario, hopefully it doesn't happen that commonly, right? But what does happen in this scenario is the pilot can get so overwhelmed by the situation and so focused on why is my engine stopped, how do I get it started again, that they take their hands off the yoke and the airplane stops staying level. So thus, this big, bold step 2 in the checklist, fly the airplane, to remind the operator of the system to keep flying the airplane. So a good checklist is simple. It's short, it's not too specific, it's meant to be used by an experienced operator, limited to just the most important actions for that operator to be taking. And it's there to help them execute those actions. And I'm not going to talk any more about checklists, but I'd recommend this book by Atul Gawande. It's a great book about checklists and what makes a good checklist. It's not specifically about incident response in like the tech ops context. It's actually about a surgical use case, but there's a lot of great lessons there for us. Another important tool at NS1. So we can have the best organizational design in the world. We can have great tools, great tech, great checklists. How do we get really good at using them? Practice makes perfect. So this is a picture of a fire drill at the Ueno Zoo in Japan for a situation where a tiger has escaped its cage. The idea of a fire drill is really important to make sure that as an organization, we react effectively when some sort of active incident arises in reality. There's a tool that most of us in our community know and have talked about for a long time that helps us create fire drill situations. Chaos Monkey. This actively breaks components of our systems in production. And we found at NS1 there are some kinds of situations with a little bit more of a human element required to create a good scenario. So one of the situations we deal with a lot at NS1 is DDoS attack. We get attacked, we're a target frequently. How do we get really great at handling those sorts of situations? Well, fire drills are what we actually call war game exercises. This is a screen cap of a bunch of our engineering team on the defense, huddled in a conference room, defending against a DDoS attack. And that DDoS attack is not a real-world one. It's one that's perpetrated by other folks in our team in like a war game scenario or a red-blue scenario. And literally, when we do these fire drills, we attack our production infrastructure with real traffic, real tools. In fact, I would say at NS1, we probably build some of the best tools out there for attacking DNS infrastructure. They're not open source and they're not for sale. We've learned a lot about how to run effective war games or fire drills like this. Just a couple quick lessons. I mean, most importantly is don't fake it. We've learned that doing real attacks against our infrastructure help us understand the dynamics of our systems. They help our individuals and our teams build muscle memory around how to react effectively. We also find that these are great tools for team building. It's almost like running a scrimmage for your football team or your soccer team, right? It's a fun exercise, helps everybody understand how they can work together and contribute in a real-world situation. Just as a quick advertisement, if any of you happen to be flying across the pond to another Velocity later this month in London, our Director of Technology, Shannon, is giving a full-length talk on this topic. The last thing, and then I'm done, is this notion of post-mortem analysis. So really important to do post-mortem or retroactive analysis after real events or incidents, after fire drills, and ask a few questions. What happened? What could we have done better? What worked really well? Take the answers to those questions and feed them back into, of course, your organizational design, your tools, your technology, and also your checklists and your fire drills. Creating that feedback loop helps us improve every time some real or simulated incident happens. All right, thanks, everybody.